Hi, it's Alison and Lee from the Law School Toolbox. Welcome back. Today we're talking about resumes. Well, resumes are important. We all need them. We review a lot of resumes, both from people who want to work with us and with our students. Today we want to share our top 10 resume tips.
All right. To round out number 10 is go ahead and include an interest section, but be specific. So I feel like if you have interesting interests, include them. And if you don't.
Right, but come up with something. And this was something I'd really never seen on a resume until I got to the legal world. I was like, wait, I'm supposed to put like, I like yoga and baking? Like what? But even then, baking, not so great. Baking sourdough bread, that's a good interest. I had a friend who put cheese on her resume, and she did it because she wanted to talk about her interest in cheese rather than what happened in tort class. But I do think this is one where you want to make it as specific as possible. Like, reading is not a great interest on a resume. Reading historical fiction, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I would say like even with travel, like travel isn't great, but like what if you do adventure travel or you're hiking, all the 7 peaks? I don't know. I just have a friend who just did Base Camp Everest. I think you should put that on a resume because like that's super fascinating. Like if you're like somebody who goes and hikes big mountains, like that's super cool.
Or like travel to X, Y, and Z. I mean, as long as it's not like Cancun to sit on the beach. But,
that's true.
But, these are things that, and these are, once you get an interview, these are the things that people are often going to talk to you about. Because like, we don't want to talk about what your favorite law school class is either. Like I might ask you the question briefly, but I really don't care. But, if you tell me that you are interested in reading historical fiction, I'm like, oh, what kind of books have you read recently? Who have you been reading about? Like, what have you been learning? And the answer shouldn't be like, oh, I can't think of anyone.
Right. Make sure you've got some, if it's on there, you better have like something prepped to talk about.
Yeah, I once asked someone who put baking on his resume because, as I said, I'm into baking. This is great. We'll have something to talk about. I said, oh, what do you like to bake? And he kind of looked at me blankly, and I'm like, it's on your resume. And he says, oh, well, it'd probably be more accurate to say I would like to watch baking shows. I'm like, that was a softball question.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible answer. Like, if you'd put watching baking shows on your resume, I would have been totally down with that. I'm like, I'll talk to you about the Great British Baking Show all day.
All day. I would love that. That would make a very fun interview.
But if you put baking, you better have something you bake. Come on.
It's
like,
true.
This is not hard.
No, like I would not put baking because I'm a terrible baker and I don't do it for fun. So like nobody wants me to put that on a resume.
Yeah, but like I can definitely do a 30-minute interview on like the details of sourdough baking.
Oh yeah.
Not a problem. I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah, exactly. Or even crafting the perfect coffee, which you've also spent a lot of time recently.
But even that, like I wouldn't feel totally confident right now putting that on my resume. Yeah. But if you want to talk to me about how I grind my own flour for the sourdough, like we can go there.
Exactly. I once did an interview with someone who had been on a pilot of a reality TV show. And that was on the resume. And I had to ask about that. And afterwards, I asked her if everyone asked her about that. And she said no. And I'm like, how do you not ask about someone being on a pilot of a reality TV show? That's super fascinating.
Right. And that's a total lawyer thing, too, because someone I worked with, actually, she and her brother won The Amazing Race.
Oh, my gosh. I love The Amazing Race.
Yeah, I worked with one of the winners. Never watched the show. But yeah, she quit shortly thereafter.
No, well, they did get a nice little chunk of money from it.
Exactly. So you never know. Like people might think like, oh, it's so weird. I've been on the pilot of a reality show and never put them on the resume. But that's actually great to put on it because it's something interesting.
It's something interesting. Like, yeah, people want to talk about something interesting. Like I did a lot of performing in my, younger days. I did opera. I did musicals. I was in a cappella. And I used to put that stuff on resumes that I did community theater. People love to talk about that stuff. And you never know what skills you can highlight, right? Performing is actually a really great thing to include on a resume if you want to be a litigator and need to basically perform as part of your job. That is like what you do. You like dress up in a suit and you perform in the courtroom or in front of clients. That's basically what you do. So you may say like, why would community theater be something interesting? But somebody may want to talk about it because it shows that you could show up, you could rehearse, you're diligent, and you don't get stage fright, and you're likely able to perform under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all about that person is confident. They have put themselves out there. Like, those are perfect things that attorneys are looking for. So think about your background, mine it for something. I mean, even if you're like, I'm so boring, all I like to do is read. You know what a lot of attorneys do?
They do.
Read stuff.
Yeah, they read stuff.
Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm so like extroverted and interesting. It's just like, again, reading historical fiction, you're like, wow, you'd be a great appellate lawyer, probably.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, a lot of great lawyers are kind of like a little like nerdy and spend a lot of time like reading and working on projects. And that's okay. We're all the same.
So just put those nerdy interests on your resume and just go with them.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we finish up, do you have any final thoughts for folks as they like put together their resumes?
I mean, I would say my number one is just get other people's feedback on it and really listen to it. Because if they're telling you something is confusing or they don't understand it, or God forbid, there's a mistake, just listen and fix it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think the only thing I would add is that just be your authentic self.
Yep.
You know, I think a lot of times there's this pressure to make yourself out to be somebody that you aren't. And that comes through in an interview. If you get an interview based on a resume that's not really a true reflection of yourself, you know, just like the guy who didn't bake, you're going to figure it out. Like, it's going to come out. And most of us, if we weave our stories, are interesting people. And you have done something interesting, or there's something interesting about yourself. And so part of this is just really sitting and saying, like, what is my story? What is my narrative? What is my elevator pitch? And how do I want to represent that? But you have something that makes you a unique candidate. Just don't bury it thinking that it's uninteresting or inappropriate.
Totally agree.
If you enjoyed this video, please take a second to give us a like and leave a comment. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at lawschooltoolbox.com.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more of our top 10 resume tips.